We bring you greetings this moment as you listen to our nuggets for today. And we title the nugget Husbands Submit to, and not just the wives. Okay, men also submit as well as is required of women to submit to the men. We'll first of all start by building a background, because we've been taught over time that men should love their wives and wives should submit. That is actually correct in the context. But this moment, we're going to go a bit deeper on the practical part of that instruction, because we've been taught that men are to love and wives are to submit. But in the real sense of it, experientially living the life of a husband to a wife, you would realize that men also submit to their wives, and wives also love their husband. Because there's been a bit of friction where the men, would want to stick to, okay, mine is to love, you are to submit. So we limit the delivery and the function of the husband to just loving. So a lot of couples argue all the time, oh, a man has been told to love and you woman has been told to submit. That is correct in the context. But we would want to broaden the reality of it through this conversation this morning from where we're recording from. You see, for a man to love, it requires a deep sense of submission for a man to love. So when we say love, yes, a man is to love, but at the same time, a man is to submit. Now, the irony of it, or the confusion there rather, is we think that when men submit to their wives, that the men are now weak. But that is completely incorrect, because it is easy to put out a statement which might look true theoretically. But when you are in it and you're living it in real time, you could now begin to have an experiential interpretation to what it is. For you to love your wife and your partner, you would need at so many times to submit. I'll give you a very simple instance. If I would want to drink water, for instance, and my wife wants us to take an orange juice instead at that moment, and all I am craving for is just a glass of water, and she's saying that she wants us to just have this juice now, and I'm like, I want to take water. And I get to realize that for my wife to be happy, remember that whoever you love, you would really have this intentional, desire to make her happy and to see her happy. So in loving you, I should make sure I make you happy. In loving you, I can't say I love you and I don't want to see you happy. So let's even start from this primary illustration. If I get to realize that if we take the orange juice rather than having my glass of water would put a smile on my wife's face, I would now choose to say, okay, that's fine. What we call forgo, we have to forgo the water and now say, okay, can I have the juice with you instead? I would have my water later. As simple as this illustration might look, I have displayed what I would call now submission. in this context. Because for me to forego the water that I actually wanted to drink so that I could put a smile on your face by having the orange juice with you, what I have simply done, I have submitted, I have suppressed my initial thirst so that you can be happy. That is submission too. And that is not weakness, because you might think, oh, I am foregoing the water and I'm now a weak. That is completely incorrect if you are living as a husband who truly loves the wife. I could give you another instance. Okay, we're driving from let's say location A to location B, and I am only focused on getting to location B. And for some reasons, my sweet, loving wife says, please, can I make a stop here before we get to location B so that I could just say hi to my friend in her store? Remember that what I initially wanted to do was just to move us from location A to B. Now, if she says, please, baby girl, sorry, sweetheart, baby boo, or whatever the fun name is for you, and she calls me my sweet name and tells me, please, can you just make a stop? Let me quickly say hi to a friend while we now proceed to location B. For me to also make sure she is happy, because she has actually made her requests in a very subtle and loving way, which we will talk about in some of our episodes, I would now have to submit and subdue my initial move from A just to B without making a stop. So the fact that I'm going to make a stop for her to say hi to her friend, I have submitted to her. I can go on and on. I am using this very mundane, in quote, and primary instances to show you that most of the times, whenever you have to forego your own appetite, your own intention, your own schedule, your own plan, your own budget to put your partner or your wife's budget or plan or plea or requests or appetite before yours, that is also an expression of submission. And remember, I will always say that is not in any way a form of weakness. That is actually a true exhibition of love. So, what we're trying to say is you cannot completely love as a man without being submissive to your wife. So, take home this morning is you cannot effectively and efficiently execute and exhibit your love towards your wife without you submitting to her. So if we're to create a formula here, there cannot be a complete fulfillment or display of love and affection without some iota of submission. Now, if we take it to the other angle of it, which is the wife submit to your husband. Correct also. But a woman cannot efficiently submit to her husband if she does not love the man. We will talk about that on the next release. But what you will take from this message is don't perceive submitting to your partner, I'm talking to the man now, as any form of weakness. Because you would understand over time that so many times you will need to forego and bury your interests first so that the interest of your partner could exist. That is submissiveness and not weakness. As a Christian, from a Christian background, for God so loved the world that he gave. Now, in this context, he loved the world so dearly, for God so loved the world. Then look at what happened next, that he gave his only begotten son to come and be a man. Now, you can just imagine when God chooses to be a man, bring himself from God level to a man level, that is also a show of submission. He has brought himself from that glory level of man to come and walk on the surface of the earth as a man, not just a man, an ordinary man. If you think of how best God could come, you would think he could come from one of the very high profiled or from top. You could think something very big. But look at how he also came. He submitted himself totally in order to show forth his love. He felt our pain as human. He felt the humiliation as human. Even though he is God, he chose to go through the life of an ordinary man. He has submitted himself to the will. So this would also give you a clearer interpretation that for you to completely show forth your love, it requires submission. That is why when Jesus was on the cross, even when it became overwhelming, he said, "But your will be done." He submitted himself to the will. Now you can now see again that submission is actually a component of love. You cannot completely love without submitting. All right. So I believe that when you listen through this over and over and over again, you would begin to appreciate the times that you submit to your loved wife or your partner and not perceive it as weakness. So, my friends, put it in your mind this moment. I'm speaking to the men now. Submitting to your wife, it's not in any way a show of weakness. Rather, it is actually a spice to exhibiting and showcasing true love. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed it or if you've been impacted on this and you have someone who you feel should listen to this, please kindly share, like, and also subscribe. Thank you and God bless you.